It hardly feels like any time at all until the Thanksgiving tribute at the mall. The student council members from every year level all work together to load vans with boxes of merchandise and equipment, including a fold-up table and chairs, a large patterned cloth, and a collection of white plastic pipes. When we get to the mall, we work together to assemble a booth. The pipes snap together to become supports for signs, and the cloth is spread over the top of the table to brighten the display and hide any boxes stored underneath. One of the senior members arranges the candles by size and color. It seems that Hieronymous took my suggestion and went with 2 candles, an autumn scent for Thanksgiving and a wintry pine scent for the winter months. It doesn't look like a professional display by any means, but it looks nice enough. The freshman shifts aren't until the end of the day, but I volunteered to take the last shift with Daniel so that we could ride back with Hieronymous alone. Secretly, I was hoping that Hieronymous would take us out to the Glen afterward, but I made sure not to get my hopes up. The seniors allow Minnie to go first, since she insisted she had to get back to school for her weekly tutoring sessions. Daniel and I spent a few hours walking around the mall and window shopping, occasionally popping over to see if anyone needed any help. No one did, of course. Selling candles wasn't laborious work, and our candle supply was slowly trickling down as the hours wore on. When it's finally time for my shift, I find Professor Grabiner sitting in one of the folding chairs nearby. "Good," Hieronymous says as we approach. "You're punctual, at least. Remember, I am here to supervise only. I am not a salesman. You should not have any need to interrupt me." With that, he goes back to his book. I can tell that just being in such a public setting is making him uncomfortable, and I decide not to push him. "You want to take the first shift?" I ask, and Daniel nods as he steps behind the booth and looks over the supplies. I wait and see what he'll do, but he just stares at people as they walk past, making no effort to engage with them at all. I don't want to intervene, but unless I do, he's not going to sell any candles at this rate. What are you doing?" I ask him after some time has gone by. "You haven't sold anything." Daniel shrugs. "No one seems very interested." I sigh and shake my head. "All right, have a seat and let me show you how it's done." I smile and greet people as they walk past, gesturing to the candles and complimenting people on the first feature that stands out to me. People immediately start coming over, and I saw 6 candles within the first 5 minutes of standing at the booth. "I think I see," Daniel says as he comes up from behind me. "It's all about making connections, right? More eye contact, more positive energy." "Especially the positive energy part," I say. "Give it a go." Daniel does a lot better. I can tell that he's not nervous, but it's clear that American customs and expressions still don't come naturally to him. In the distance, I see businesses starting to draw the gates over their shop fronts and decide to gently nudge Hieronymous's arm. "Some people are already starting to lock up," I point out. "Should we keep going?" Hieronymus looks up and glances around. "No, that won't be necessary. Anyone being shooed out by security is unlikely to stop for a purchase." I can't help but giggle, and Hieronymus smirks at me as we stand to pack things up. It's just the 3 of us now, but at least there's a lot less to carry than there was this morning. "I should have let you finish up," Daniel says. "Then we wouldn't have had to trudge all this stuff back to the van." "Maybe," I reply, "but this was your lesson in social economics. You're the one who wanted the real American experience." "I wanted cheerleaders and cheeseburgers," Daniel grunts as he pushes a box into the back of the van. "Well, you got me and an ice cream sundae," I snort as I climb into the seat next to Hieronymus, who is sitting in the driver's seat. "All set?" Hieronymus asks, and I nod. "Good." As he starts the drive back to campus, I can't help but turn back to Daniel. "So, aside from the cheerleaders and cheeseburgers part, what do you think of today?" "There's still so much I don't understand about American culture," Daniel admits with a sigh. We don't have Thanksgiving in my country, but Professor Potsdam said it was a day of giving thanks. It is, I tell him. Without getting into the historical aspect of it, it's supposed to be a day you spend with your family. You watch a parade, and then you eat so much turkey that you can barely move. According to some traditions, Hieronymous replies dryly. So, Thanksgiving is on a Thursday, Daniel says, as if he's trying to reason this out for himself. But I saw all of the stores advertising Black Friday sales. Like I said before, Black Friday is the day after Thanksgiving, where everything is on sale. It's a chance to buy things at a discount so you don't have to spend as much. Then you save those presents for people until Christmas and give them to your friends and family then. But Thanksgiving is the day of giving thanks, Daniel counters. So shouldn't you be giving people presents on Thanksgiving? Why does Black Friday come after Thanksgiving? Shouldn't you buy the presents first and then share them on the day of giving, instead of waiting a whole month? I turn to Hieronymous, who just remains focused on the road ahead. I wouldn't tell anyone else about this, Daniel. Why? He asks. Because I sound like an idiot? No, because I think you just broke the entire American economic system. How did you get used to it? Daniel asks as he turns to Hieronymous. What were things like for you when you first came to America? I turn back to Hieronymous again, almost too eager to hear his response. It was a different time then, he says quietly. Remember, the technology that exists today was not prevalent a decade ago. People were much more eager to socialize in person. People read more, and despite my obvious chagrin for American culture, they were far more informal and hospitable than I initially suspected. I could read between the lines. Well, at least they accepted you here, I say, and Hieronymous shoots a tight-lipped smile in my direction. Do you think they'd accept me? Daniel asks. If I was a different person and I didn't have to go home, do you think I'd be able to live here? They accept everybody, I tell him quickly, desperate to keep current political events out of his mind. Although I would caution you not to dwell on those kinds of thoughts, Hieronymous adds just as quickly. You are bound to your lands. Fantasizing about a life where you are free of your current obligations will not help you. Daniel pouts and falls silent, and I don't attempt to engage either of them in conversation after that. Once we get back to campus, Hieronymous sends Daniel back to his room and closes up the van, saying that Minnie had volunteered to take inventory of what was left tomorrow morning. Still, the somber mood seems to permeate the air between us, even as we make it back to his room. What's wrong, Tori? He asks as he unlocks the door. You seem subdued. Part of me is tired, I admit. Another part of me wonders if that's what you're doing here. Hieronymous shakes his head. I don't understand. What you said in the van, I remind him. You told Daniel not to fantasize about a life free of his obligations. Were you talking about him, or were you talking about you? Hieronymous sighs as he glances down and away. Sometimes, Tori, you are too perceptive for your own good. I'm not mad, I tell him quickly. I'm just trying to understand. Have you decided you don't want to go back to England after all? Or do you feel like you're being forced to? I already made it clear that I am postponing any discussion of what we shall do until your senior year, Hieronymous insists, but I just shake my head. Pretend it's my senior year then, I tell him. I don't care where we go as long as we're happy and we're together. If that's England, then so be it. There is a lot to discuss, Hieronymous says quietly. There's a lot that you don't know. It's not just a simple matter of going back to England, as you seem to say. There is a lot that you don't know about the original founding families or about the role that we would be subjected to. It would have been easier for me to forsake my post and die a bachelor, but now that you're involved, everything's changed. You're going to get mad at me for saying this, but I'm okay with that, I tell him. I know there's a lot that I don't know, and I know there's a lot about the past that you don't want to revisit, but maybe you were born into this role for a reason. You were too smart and too powerful to just hide out as a teacher your whole life. Maybe there's some great big destiny you were born to fulfill. I don't know. But I do know that you're not going to be happy spending the rest of your life here. Even if you never met me, I think at the end, you'd regret it. Hieronymous just sighs and wipes at his face with one hand. I think I'm as tired as you are, as you're actually starting to make sense. We should go to bed, I say as I take his hand. We'll talk about it tomorrow. We'll talk about it next month. We'll talk about it next year. Whenever you're ready to talk about it, I'm ready to listen. Hieronymous just steps forward and wraps his arms around me, resting his forehead against mine. I don't know what I did to deserve you, Tori, but thank you. I just beam up at him. I want to make some snarky comment, but it doesn't come. Hieronymous would never show that he was stressed, and he would rarely convey just how much something concerned him if he knew it worried me. But when it came to this, when it came to our future, I had to be the steady rock that could support us both. Even if I was younger than he was, now was the time for me to step up and show my maturity. If I wanted this to work, I had to. You're welcome.